And hello, hello, hello. Today is another day when I started off today with a new intro that was put together by Tank um, with music that was not copywritten by. It was the permission was given directly by the people who put it together. So fantastic. Well, Monday, April 22nd, it is the beginning of a new week. Still Easter Sunday for the people on the other side of the planet. And we're just starting off an interesting new week. Isn't it going to be seeing where the military comes through, see what happens? I want to also point out I had created a video. This was based on the Mueller report from the Bob Barr conference, and I have it queued up behind me over here. So let me go ahead and put that on here. Now, I created this. I just added comments by Rob Rosenstein.
Everybody, and thanks for being here this morning. As you know, on March 22nd, Special Counsel Robert Mueller concluded his investigation into matters related to Russian attempts to interfere in our 2016 presidential election, and he submitted his confidential report to me pursuant to department regulations. As I said during my Senate confirmation hearing, since I'm committed to ensuring the greatest degree possible of transparency concerning the special counsel's investigation, consistent with.
What I'm interested in now is it looks to me like the wording is reversed on the camera angle. So I'm not going to continue with it because it's all about what he says. So I did put it on my channel. I encourage you to go check it out. I also posted it on 8chan in the Q boards under memes. So it's I'm adding comments. I actually have Rod Rosen go through one of the Q posts and analyze it, because it's in particular the Q post about how he exits. Right? When does he get to leave? Rod Rosenstein has been there, but why is he there, standing behind bar, looking like he's frozen, and really just doesn't want to be there? And that's what gave me the idea. And everyone has made the same comments. It's like he stands out, like he really just doesn't want to be there. So anyway, I added comments all through. It goes through the Q post, and basically in the Q post, it says that when the blockade is removed, and Robert Mueller is the blockade. The Mueller investigation of Trump on Russian collusion has been a way to stop a lot of investigations. Because if there's going to be an investigation and it would touch any of these witnesses, and I believe he interviewed over 500 witnesses. And so Mueller basically identified people right out there, and if they didn't want those people to talk to anyone else, he had a conversation with them. He interviewed them, and in those interviews, it was if someone else needs to investigate, say, well, let's say anything to do with Russia, maybe Uranium One, they're not able to talk to him because they would be interfering with the Mueller investigation. So it was a blockade. This Mueller report being released is the removal of the blockade. And in the Q post, I think it's 2176, but it's listed here in this where it says that when he's removed, then the complete removal of Rod Rosenstein will happen. And so that's why I have him make comments and say, yeah, he's free and so on. But he makes comments along the way. What comes after that is also listed out in this post from February. So it's another way in which Q proves himself, called the Q proofs. Future proves past. It means things that he says in the past get proven out in the future. A lot of these have 1 year deltas, 1 year time frames to the minute, in which they'll say a posting here, 1 year later there's a posting here, and they coincide. And you follow along with a Trump tweet to throw into the mix. It turns out to be referring to another Q post, that if you read the Q post, it ties it together. That's why there's puzzles, real brain trick teasers. It's a lot to get into. The ones that I like to watch to follow along with that is IPOT, In Pursuit of Truth. He has very good skills at digging into things, as well as American Intelligence Media, X22 Report, even Red Pill 78 is also one of the ones that I'll watch about what's going on in the Q post. Let's see, there's I don't want to. It's 412 and on, but their channel is I forgot what it is, but anyway, they have also very good analytics, as well as the super brain teaser of Serial Brain 2, which goes, the puzzles there are really at another level. It goes into gematria and lots of things. That's why the posts, this plan, when they say trust the plan, this has been very much laid out to show that if you dig into it, it's gonna get you thinking, and which is part of the purpose of Q, is to get people to start thinking critically, critical thinking skills. So, and I see Tank has joined us. Hello, Tank. I did go ahead and play the intro that you sent me. I did start with the standard music, and I put that on right afterwards.
Yeah, I'm watching. Was kind of setting some other things up in the background and paying attention carefully as you set the stage. I feel like I miss all the good stuff when I miss your intro, so I want to make sure I got it on time today.
Well, hopefully, now hopefully I'll be able to get these monologues pulled off into separate segments for people. It's not hard to find the monologues always in the beginning, but the other things. And I did make a mistake just to saying Tom has putting together. It was actually Tony. I think my eyes were a little bit blurry when I read it.
Right. Yeah.
Too much staring at the screen. I started getting blurry. So a Tony can turn into a Tom. So, but yeah, he did send me the breakdown for that. I was going to try to edit that last night, break it into the pieces that he did. But I think it's going to take a little bit more time for me to start working with the way he's laying out things and pulling it off into segments. So anyway, we'll work it out. And then I also went to sleep. I went to the hot springs last night, right, for a swim. It's an interesting thing here in the Philippines. It's very hot, so I'm in like the resort area, right, and so everyone goes swimming in the hot water when it's hot. It's very unusual.
So interesting, yeah. Why?
But very well. I mean, why do you do hot yoga?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no. Listen, I was a college wrestler, and the wrestling room was always at like 98 to 100 degrees, and practices were tough. But even now, like I hate going to gyms because they're always so cold. I'm so used to it being warm. Yeah, I like to break a good sweat. So
I did start on a wrestling team when I was in school in Pennsylvania. I literally just started high school, and then I switched to California, and I started with a wrestling team there. But when I went to California, no wrestling team, at least not where I was. Yeah, so I never really advanced there. But I did play football, starting with a very young age. I think age 8. Yeah, very very young. Pennsylvania is a very big football state, and when I came to California. I was on the first string in Pennsylvania, but coming into it here, they want to put me on third string. I just didn't have interest. School really wasn't really very football oriented also. And then anyway, there was beaches to go to while I'm in California. So
yeah,
I said, maybe I'll try surfing. Right. Try to get into on some surfing.
Well, I grew up in upstate New York, and upstate New York is a great place to live in the summertime, and in the winter it's very cold, so everybody plays sports. Matter of fact, in my high school, everybody played sports almost all year round. Everybody graduated, and everybody went to college, so it was just normal. I think everyone was trying to escape small town, upstate.
Yeah. My two brothers, they both live in Pennsylvania, and my youngest brother opened a brewery, microbrew.
Oh yeah,
So,
in Pennsylvania.
and then uh, the one in the middle. I'm the oldest, so the one in the middle. He's a principal for special needs students in a class. So, um, and it's I haven't been back to Pennsylvania for quite a number of years, but I actually was planning on going the beginning of this year, but things kind of took a different turn. Um, but I'll be getting there soon enough.
Yeah.
I have to go visit you.
So yes, you do. Yeah, if you're in Pennsylvania, you're gonna have to. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually I got a little bit of a guilt call from my parents today because since I've been on this path for some time now, I have not seen my parents. So that's been a
My mother is still in Pennsylvania also.
oh that's good. Oh, there you go. Plenty of reason to go back.
Yeah. So it'll be a nice visit. It's I remember when I left for from Pennsylvania to California. I took a flight. I remember it took like 3 hours to clear the runway from all the snow. And I got off in California. I was wearing a parka. It was 88 degrees. I said,
Yeah.
I don't want to go back. I don't mind
The
visiting because I know I can
area is
leave.
so different. I mean, other places.
Yeah. And of course,
Yeah.
it's probably one of the reasons why I've always been drawn to the tropics, to the tropical island. Actually, when I was in kindergarten, I remember drawing pictures of islands with hula dancers on it, like Hawaii, right? With palm trees and coconuts.
Yeah. Who doesn't like that? I mean, it's like makes you feel alive. I love that feeling,
Yeah.
stepping off a plane and being in a place like the Philippines where you live every day. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And go and bathe in the volcano hot springs. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that here in New York. You know, you go down by the sewage. You know, when you walk, it's almost like that. When you go by the sewage, the hot steaming sewage underneath the city comes up nice and hot in the middle of winter.
Right.
The
Get
most,
warm. Not a good place to get warm. Yes.
yeah, it's like smoldering hot sewage coming up through the vents. Yep, that's it's
Well,
different.
maybe I don't need to visit you. Maybe.
No, but look, you can't beat New York in the summer. I mean, New York's beautiful. I love New York. I'm just playing. There's
I
a
know.
thousand things here that are
You know,
amazing. But
I've been around the world, many places. I should try and count the countries. It's probably I don't know, 20 countries I've been to. Never been to New York. I mean, I've been to New York State, crossing the border and that, but never been to New York.
in my youth, I would have been really cocky and been like, "Look, man, if you haven't been to New York, you haven't been anywhere." But now, now I've seen more, I guess. And I'm just like, wow, the world has so much to offer. I can't even. I always thought if I moved to New York, I'd never live anywhere else. You know, because I mean, when you grow up in upstate, I mean, I grew up in upstate New York. I take the top off my Jeep. I had like a Jeep Wrangler. I take the top off my Jeep in April. I never put it back on, rain or shine, until October, right? Just because I love being outdoors so much, and it wasn't like I didn't have a job or something. It wasn't I went to I went to work like in a suit and had religious commitments in a suit, and I don't know, that's how it was upstate, you know,
So you
rough it.
worked at the zoo?
Not a zoo. I'm saying I wore a suit.
Oh,
Like so, I'm saying if I got my Jeep and my Jeep was wet, I just towel it off and roll.
your volume is kind of going in and out a little bit.
All right, then I'm going to adjust. Hang on 1 second.
Yeah, I do like the intro.
All right.
I do like the intro that you put together. But why is it square? Why isn't like full frame?
I can change that. I didn't know how it would play out on YouTube. I think I just
Okay.
had the settings for a square at
All
some
right.
point.
And then you're clipping some of the like what do we need? Food, water, air. It's very close to the border. A lot of the crate change logo. It's really like cutting off parts of the words and things. So reoriented that is, I think, a very good. It'll be a good intro. Yeah, I got to figure out how to do it at the beginning of a live broadcast. When I play the other one on YouTube, it's kind of I just go push play. This one I have to do a share. Unless I guess I could upload it to YouTube and then hit that
Well,
screen, something like that. I got to try and figure it out how to play it in the beginning. And it's always like juggling, getting things rolling here. So
yeah. I mean, plus how many shows this is, 50 or something shows straight or something. Trying to get all these pieces, trying to work out extra things in addition to trying to get the show out is there's a lot of stuff going on. But
yeah,
I
you want
think
to
it
say
is
what's
a
going
big.
on?
Yes, I will tell you that's exactly what I said yesterday. We are currently the Pentagon. It was in strategic meetings yesterday, although it is today.
And you're cut out. Playing games again. Clowns in America. You're muted. In case you did not know. Okay. I put back on the intro. They really just don't want Tank to say that what's going on. Am I still broadcasting? Let me check. Oh, you got 172
Yeah.
watching. Oh, you're back.
Okay. So, all right. Yeah, I just do that for suspense to
Dramatic pause.
dramatic pause. So, yesterday, Kim said that the Pentagon was in strategic meetings at the Pentagon yesterday. So all the military guys are they are strategizing their plan. I have that confirmed from some of my other military sources who confirmed such activity that I can't discuss, but definitely that it is taking place. And that is all about a strategy to redeem themselves for missing it on this because they were wrapped up with the other side,
The GCR.
and now they realize that the GCR, the genocide currency reset. Um, so they realize that now that they supported something that they're not in agreement with, and currently they realize that Kim is the good guy, and she is trying to revitalize humanity by returning these assets back to the people and the projects and the real true governments, not the corporations that we've all been enslaved by in one way or another. So that's the State of the Union, and she told me today. I mean, Kim, right back at it on Easter Sunday. She was in a meeting this morning when I talked to her, and she was had to go out to do something else, and she was going to go right back in and get back to work. So I believe she's still trying to bypass everyone altogether. But obviously, she's got an ally in the Pentagon right now. But I would imagine, knowing Kim, that she will still continue to develop another strategy just in case there's someone on the inside of the Pentagon who doesn't perform right. Knowing Kim, well, actually knowing the bad guys, because they have repeatedly come to terms with us and not honored those terms. So makes good sense.
Well, the people in the military that they've been part of a grander plan, and on their let's say how on their agenda, on their side, and their mindset has all been about a future one world order, right? And they're still in the military. This would be the military of the world, and so on. And so they all have their ideas about what the future was going to be, and I'm sure that they had convinced themselves that this was going to be a good thing. And really, if you really start doing critical thinking about who you're aligned with and what has been the past, can you really think that it was a good thing? It's a lot. See, the problem is, the way I saw it is that everyone that I was dealing with was a good guy. I don't know anyone that wasn't going to be uh, really thinking that this overall end result was going to be great. There's I had Chinese partners, and they were talking about all these kind of things where they wanted to run with and solar plants or whatever it was they wanted to get built with these projects, or it was in or even in the Philippines. Like, everyone had these like great plans, so it makes sense that it takes a while to kind of like change your mindset about what has been going on, and to switch sides, or less, with your realign your goals to your intentions. It might be better. Your intentions were to do good things, but the path you were on was not going to lead to good. So it's great that the military has now, refocused. Is that okay? This is the way to go, and now let's build a new world. And
Yeah, that is like I don't know if that's something that kind of we need to dive into a little bit, because the biggest challenge with this, that people can hear this over and over and over and over again, and it's so hard to penetrate through what is their absolute truth, because there's something in there that they absolutely know is real. Like Dan, you're talking about, you didn't know anybody with an ill intent. Well, I highly doubt that, because they're excellent actors. They think about it. They award acting. They have this big trophy, right? They love, and they're raised to be sociopaths. They're raised to detach from the natural human feelings that we all have. They put them through very abusive training. They train their children. They have no love. They abuse them, and they hurt them, and they do perform sexual acts on them when they were young, way before
Tank, you're fading
you're
in
allowed to.
with the getting garbled.
I don't understand why. I'm
It's
very
clear
stable
now.
at the moment.
Clear at the
Am I
moment.
good? Okay. All right. So they do all these things to them, and
You're
if you
done.
study anything about psychopaths. Hello.
Yeah, they're messing with you.
Tell me what I'm bastards. Okay. I'm going to go to a place where I might have better reception.
It sounds good at the moment.
Okay. So if you've ever read anything about psychopaths or sociopaths, they don't understand human emotion. They just don't have them. Or at least that's the report. They're buried so deep they don't feel them anymore. And because of that, they are constantly experimenting on people, right? That's why they become sociopaths, because they want to understand, how people react to things. So they study laughter and joy and love, and they pretend to be that. And that's a very scary thing, because it is that connection that we all have with the emotional consequences, the karmic consequences of our existence, that allows us to do heroic things and stops us from doing horrible things. Now, so how do you untrain, or how do you take humanity and you try to make them something they're not? You introduce them to things that are at an inappropriate age, and you take away their natural understanding of love, right? By introducing an act that is of intimacy that's supposed to be for the one you love, and you have somebody who should never do that to you, they do it to you, right? Um, and then that immediately damages, and then they repeat it to the point where they're just numb to it. They don't even care, right? And they people that are supposed to love you and hug you and nurture you and build you up, they hit you and beat you and lie to you and mess with your mind constantly. So by the time they get older, and then they reward them for performing, hurtful acts, right?
Right.
So I mean, this whole concept, right? And it's what's interesting now. If you're in their world, right, they believe this is what's necessary to, bring out the best performance in humanity, right? And they are elite, and they have this right. Now that's at their level, that's what they thought.
Well, let me
If
stop you there for a moment and make a comment about something I've been thinking about in regards to this,
Sure.
especially with let's say the top three that used to be there, getting together and laughing about what they're getting their herds to do, right? You know,
Mhm.
and so if we can get a group together that we can have them act the opposite and reward them, right? We can keep that split, that division, because it's about dividing and conquering, right? So the ultimate is to basically take what is the best about us and then reverse that and get a group that's going to perpetrate the opposite and use that as your control group of how you will control the world by this opposite action that was all against what we would want, slavery or anything else, that it was so negative in its we just say label it evil. It's so evil that no one on the other side can even comprehend that people want to be that evil or can be that evil. It's why it's so odd, right? But I think it kind of stems, I think, from that wanting to create an ultimate division, and it may be all of the demonology, all of the power supposedly coming from that, from the standpoint of it being bestowed upon by demons to those people as power, has nothing to do with demons, other than it being a reflection of them being the demons, and that they are getting this karma power that's going to them. Right? They're getting power from it, but it's also part of that system and apparatus that's put in place to be that counterbalance to the human side of love, caring, nurturing, and and I think that it may just go down to that was just part of the plan, the ultimate psyop perpetrated at the highest level.
Well, yeah. So this is what I was building up to. So at the level of the current, what we would call the bloodline Illuminati that we know about, right? So on that level, the way that you seduced them, right? Now you're absolutely right about the programming, right? How do you, program these people and keep them at bay to get the most out of them? And then because you've been doing this for so long, you believe that you have the right to, and that you have that authority, and that you are, entitled to that, right? So the first thing is you have to convince those people at the top that they are the original chosen one, right? They are the most elite. They're the most special. They are the offspring of these, super elite at the top, you know. And so in their minds, this was elite training, right? Because they see love as a weakness, right? They see love as a weakness. So, they see kindness as a weakness, generosity, all of these things is giving up your position, right? So now you have to come up above that to see, well, what was it really? What was all this really? Well, what they were doing really was at the highest level, as the military dictator, the great dictator, role, the Sun Tzu Art of War, what he was doing was training soldiers, super soldiers, from the time they were very young, and training them to follow orders blindly and show their loyalty, right? So they exalt things like loyalty and and ruthless behavior, right? And following orders, and will you do what it takes, and trust that we have your best interest in mind, and only the strong will survive, right? And they create this this illusion to them that if someone dies off, it's because they were weak, right? But if you survive, and you trusted, and it's because you followed orders, and you're always loyal to the brotherhood, always, right? They say, what is it, the Committee of 300, like 300, one family, right? Like 300 branches, one family. That's where that all comes from. Now you can hear these things repeated in military rhetoric all the time, and in football teams and basketball teams, right? There's this mentality, fraternities, right? It's the same mentality that gets repeated over and over again. And what it does is it vanquishes independent thinking, right? So they want to crush independent thinking. They want to crush love, right? They want to crush anything that extends from love, like generosity and kindness, you know, all those things. They see them all as weaknesses. And that was from the very top level. And the way they always did that is they said, you are the chosen ones, right? You are special. So every other group, right, in these different compartments, they were told the same thing by someone else above them, right? Like, you are the one I've chosen. No one else knows this, but I have this secret power, right? And then a lot of these guys, they did have abilities, right? Because they had been developing them since they were very young. So they understood how to speak, telepathically, and they understood the access to various technologies that, most average people, even if they know they exist, they don't understand necessarily how to use them, right? And all of these things were a phone call away for them to, to create an illusion that would, terrify and awe and wonder people, right? It's like, flying down in an airplane to, some tribe that's never seen an airplane. They might think you're gods, right? As
Right.
we did with the various galactics. And that is not just something you see in a sitcom. That is what really has happened repeatedly. You know, these upper levels, they played the role of gods, and they loved being worshipped, and they ate it up. They ate it up. But the truth of the matter is, they have never been able to generate their own energy. They are a cancer. Now, what cancer cannot see, all cancer really is, all that cancer really is every cell in the body goes according to apoptosis, programmed cell death. So about 3 years in, the cell is programmed to die because it's lived out its lifespan, and when it dies, it you know allows for the a new cell to be generated. Right, and that's the program. So sometimes there's deficiencies in the body, so that cell will say, "Wait, I have to stay alive a little longer." Right, so it starts out with a noble act, right? And sometimes it just doesn't want to die. And because it doesn't want to die, it can't produce its own energy anymore. So what it does is it starts to devour the cells around it, right? And it becomes stagnant. And it devours more cells and more cells and more cells. And then it creates this lump of dead, dying tissue in the midst of the body, which ultimately causes a blockage of some kind. And you can pretty much track almost all disease back to some kind of blockage, right? Some kind of interference in the function there. Now, this is exactly what the current deep state is, right? That is exactly what you're seeing from the Rothschilds down. They are a cancer. They are part of the body, but they refused to die. And because they refuse to die, they don't have the ability to create their own energy. Like in this case, literally money. They don't know how the money is made. They never did know, right? So what they're doing instead is they're devouring everything around them, and then they're standing in the way. They are a cancer. So we are, you know, we are vitamin B17, breaking that cancer up.
Well, yeah, I don't. I think that's a very good analogy. Where the vitamins that are needed to cause the cell to go ahead and self-destruct. So, yeah, there's a certain chemicals that our body goes through and needs. So if the cell's not going to self-destruct, it's going to go cancerous. So if you add that to it, so vitamin B17 maybe one of those. I know of a couple others. So there's a. I'm sorry. I was just kind of thinking about this whole scenario with the ones that were, the rulers, and that they're in that position of being able to, affect change right now. If they can wake up to see that, the system changed, and they just were not aware that it happened, right? They may have got upset and angry, go through that stages of grief, right? So they
Yep.
deny it, right? And then they're angry about it. So they're in the angry stage, right? And they're lashing out. So, to get through these stages, though, as quick as possible, is I think just about education, and that's why I think us discussing the topic of their role has already changed, and they just didn't know it, and that the path that they're on was going to lead to their destruction anyway. Ultimately, I know they thought they were going to be on, but is that really the place where they need to be, even logically? If you are all trained to think about caring and everything being bad, and everyone that has, love and caring and nurturing on their as part of it, and you think that those people are stupid, your side lost. The whole upper structure is gone, and everything is changing from above you, and they're squishing you out. So maybe it's time for you to reevaluate. And even though you've been trained not to have these things, and you don't have the emotional reference from the side of logic, you may want to start thinking about, well, why don't you now try the other way? And maybe you don't quite understand it, but it may be something to go ahead and and move with, instead of trying to get continue with the plan that ends up with your death. Not a good scenario. So if you're waiting for orders to come, they're not coming. If you want to take orders from who's there now, then your orders are to change. Right? It's obvious that the agenda has changed. So if you want to take orders now, follow the new agenda, get it, and then allow it to roll forward, and see what the new world is going to bring. You just may enjoy yourself better. I see Tui has joined. I did send the link out earlier. Thanks for joining, Tui.
In spirit, we appreciate you joining. I don't think he's on board yet.
Yeah. I want to get I was trying to get him connected with some people that are visiting there from Hawaii, but he doesn't have a WhatsApp app because he doesn't have room on his phone for these apps. I know some of these phones, you just have enough memory to install like 2 or 3 apps, and then that's it. You're done. So anyway, I'll see if I can get the others to.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Tui. Did you see Tui? Did you see yourself on the intro, the new intro? There's a new musical intro that Tank put together, and you're the 3D character of you.
Never sure what the good is.
You're not coming in clear, Tank.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it seems like the signal is weak, and so very elongated words, and then shortened. I say, cut off rather.
No problem. I will up.
You're back. So,
Back to my perch.
yeah, so I think Tui is on a long delay. It's probably difficult for him to follow along in a conversation with long delays.
Yeah.
As it will be interesting to get a new worldwide internet, from Elon Musk. Quite a big undertaking he's doing there. It's like 14,000 satellites to give free Wi-Fi to everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the Borg that he's trying to create. I mean, Elon Musk is not on our side, so I'd say we could tap into the magnetic field, the ether, right now. We could do that and have a much more efficient.
So why do you think Elon Musk is not on our side?
He's openly said, he's on a radio show. I watched the interview where he talked about us becoming, mostly droids. I mean, he literally described the Illuminati agenda, and he just said, I better just go with them than to join them. If you can't beat him, he said, join them. He was talking about it.
Well, I've seen some things where he's basically going against that, right? Where he's talking about this is the warnings, right? So maybe he didn't believe that they could win. He said, well, we can't win. We might as well go ahead and I don't know that piece, but let's see if we can change his mind about the Borg agenda.
Well, I mean, he names his company Tesla, and he has this amazing opportunity to, bring in real tech. I mean, bring in free energy, man. Like, go ahead and do it. It's easily adaptable to that vehicle. It wouldn't have been a problem. There's people making these, Tesla energy devices in their garage all the time. But he didn't. He made some, overpriced, way to.
Yeah, I follow along with what I know that line, but let's see. It's hard to break into the club, right? As they just don't let anyone in this technology. So he's brought in an electric car, and now it's these battery systems for the homes, and that's what makes the solar, really stable for everyone to put it on their home. There's enough solar hitting the house to run a house, but they added the cost to it so that it's so expensive that most people are not going to be able to do it. So it's basically dialed it back. So and it's the same thing like Solar City. Now of course he bought Solar City, but Solar City's business model was a great business model. All right, so you give them your electricity bill, and they take that and then they go ahead and finance putting the solar on your house, in which they sell it back to you over time with your standard electric bill. You pay the same as you would have paid every month. But after 15 years, you would have finally have paid it off, right? And now you have free energy. But there's no reason that it should take that long. It's just the cost that they put into the installing this system and everything that makes it cost so much. Right now, solar panels are $3 a watt in America. In China, the panels are 20 cents a watt. Then when you want to add the battery costs, for storage of energy to go 24 hours so you can have power at night, when you need it, right? Because in the day, you're not at home. Right?
Right.
So then the cost is, then again added, triple to what it should cost. So overall, it costs way, way, way much more than it actually should cost to install these systems with solar. Yes, you're paying your normal bill, and the carrot that's on the very long stick that for you to get there is eventually your energy will be free. It should be like 2 years. It's paid off, not 15. So
if it was 2 years, I think that would be reasonable.
I think it's reasonable, yeah. Well, it's kind of like when I came up with this for the abundance mine concept for Bitcoin mining. It's a way to integrate it into the existing world system, which doesn't want you to have free energy, But in a way that the free part comes is that because the Bitcoin price is rising, that would fit into the model that's out there. It's an abundance-based model, but it literally will get you, your free energy, and you actually start making money off of using energy. You're using it the more, because now you're making more off of this system because the Bitcoin price goes up past a certain amount. Now you're actually making a profit off of what you got installed on your house, but it's not actually being on your house. It's at the it's sold back to you from the power that's put on the grid. So, but that was again another system, but it's based around a perpetual energy system, which is using water, as just like you would generate electricity from a dam, but you're taking the water that fell over the dam and pushing it back into the dam at the bottom. And that's where there's a trick involved in some of the magic of how that happens is a patented piece of technology to put it in at no resistance at the bottom of the dam. So that's why it's always filled, so it can always keep sending and generating electricity. So with that model, you should have free power. So we put this out on this, but the system, as it exists, doesn't want to accept that kind of free power because then the free energy blows up the existing financial system, not just the energies, it blows up the finances of the world. So how do you integrate that over time? Right? How do you, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, how do you transition from this debt-based system? You have to find ways to integrate that don't allow for the system to collapse while you're converting it. We can do it.
I agree. The thing that strikes me all the time is, there's going to have to be a time, a moment in all of this where the people are able and in position to take back their power. Now I genuinely think that's now. Because you have this financial standoff, right, where they can't even see past what would we do if there was no money, right? So, in my opinion, you bring the money in through the people. Now you bring the money into the people, and then you let the people decide what, actually you give them the whole research, and you allow them to make decisions separate from the economy, um, based on what is best for, humanity in general, right? Now, we put so much emphasis on the economy, we'd have to say, okay, well, we're going to have to build industries that match the same production and provide just as many jobs at a higher paying rate, right? Now, if we're
Right.
providing the same amount of jobs at a higher paying rate, right, and at the same time we're reducing costs that everyone has, basic energy, we make energy, a fourth of the cost, let's say, which could easily be done. I mean, could be done in 5 years without even an issue.
I think one of the things that I've been thinking about this is when doing a create change project center here in the Philippines.
Yeah.
The people that are hired, right, that are going to help people, to do their jobs, or, to help do their projects. Those people should be paid at the world wage. What it should be like. Pick the highest wage in the world for that job, and then that's what you pay. Yeah, even 10% above that, whatever. So you give, in the world you equalize the wages so that you don't have this disparity, so you don't end up with slave labor in parts of the world. So
Well,
that would be one thing.
I understand that concept, but the problem is that there's different costs of living, right? You can, you said that you can live for $2,000 a month in the Philippines and you're rich, right?
Yeah.
So you can't live for New York for $2,000 a month. I mean,
Right.
you can't do anything. I mean, my rent is $3,000 a month. So,
Yeah, I'll say this is that when you go to any of the grocery stores here in the Philippines or in other countries I've been in, those prices are pretty much consistent with what I was finding in California.
yeah,
I mean, there's definitely some things that were cheaper and something, but overall, the prices were in the same range. for that system. The differences in the Philippines is that people won't go to the grocery store, right? That they're forced to basically raise their own food, right? And not eat as well as they may want to. But it's not that they're not starving. I'm not. It's not about that. But we're talking about having some equalization. If they got paid $2,000 a month, I would say people here that are getting paid $2,000 a month would be like architects, maybe even maybe 2 to 3 thousand in that range. You'll find in the U.S. they're maybe being paid $5, $6, $7,000 a month, $8,000 a month. Are these higher levels? Here, it's more about half of what it would be in America. So, if they equalize the wages, though, in that way, those people that were on the projects would be little economic booms for wherever they were living, right? Any place where they were at, they would send that currency out into the system, and then they would, that velocity would carry around, and that economic development would cause this wealth to now be in the hands of so many people. So they're equalizing the wage also will have that effect of giving wealth out, for things, maybe people. I know when I was in California, I mean, it would be very much possible for me to eat out almost every meal, and on occasion eat at home, right?
Right.
Because it's the lifestyle and things like that. Here in the Philippines, if you're going to eat out, it's literally like once in 2 months, right? They've gathered their wages, or they'll get together with a bunch of friends after work, and they'll do it like once a month, and they'll all chip in, right? Just to have the experience of eating out, right? There's a place here so called forgot the name, Caldera Pizza or something like that. Well, they'll give like this 5-foot round pizza, right? The cost of that would be in dollars would be around $30. So, but they would all pitch in, and they would have a big party, and they take photos, and everyone would be very happy sharing that. But but if they had more money, would they eat out more? Yes. Would that spread more economic economic wealth? Yes, because of that. Just moving the money through the system would create that ripple effect. So that's why I was looking at that as a way to for these people to that are working on helping people with projects, that they could literally cause wealth to spread out into the world. That still is not going to upset the world. Like, what did you say? Kim said that you could put in about 5 trillion of economic of like money dump into the world per quarter or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that that effect, getting at the hands of the people at their wage level, I think will cause a lot of happiness. When you get those big 5-foot pizzas, you're very happy.
Well, yeah, in theory, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
The first thing we have to do in every area is you have to do a proper needs assessment, right? So to do a proper needs assessment, you have to find out what do the people want themselves, right? And you have to really include the people. Like, it has to be an all-inclusive kind of, needs assessment where, to be honest, the way you're describing it, like for people to eat at home, like, yes, will it, increase the restaurant's business there, but it might not have the best of impact on the family life, and I think it's important to measure those things with equal value. We can't just look at the economy, even when it comes to if you're gonna take the average person. I mean, an architect here, my gosh, they're definitely gonna make on the low end probably $300,000 a year, right? So they'd be one of the richest people in the Philippines, it sounds like,
Sure.
So that wouldn't necessarily now. So what's going to happen? Well, you're going to have all this extra income. So what are you going to do with that income? Well, you're probably going to invest it in, some kind of blue chip stock that you think is solid. Right now, we're refueling our enemy, right? Because at the end of the day, these types of things are common to us, and we think this is the way to make money. This is responsible, right? So before we even jump that hurdle to equalize things, I think equalizing things would take time. Now, I do agree that everybody within our organization, the way that we build everything the right way is we don't have to impose it. We don't have to advertise it. We don't have to try to persuade people. What we do is we have projects that are already established. And as they go to build the project, we're going to pay people the top wage in that area, you know, and probably more than the top wage in that area, right? In a place like the Philippines, right? And because there is an economic, but we're not going to pay what they make in New York, probably, because it's
Sure.
not going to benefit the overall purpose of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I hear you. But I know, like, the top wage here is one wage. There is no alternative. It's only one wage. It's by province. There's a difference of, like, $1 here or $2 there. But it would be something along the lines of, say, $4 to $7 a day. So that's the wage. There is no. That's just where you live, right?
Now, so we're not going to do that. I mean, we're definitely not going to, because what that's designed to do is to keep people in their place, right? So we're going to pay people in reasonable terms to allow them to thrive, right?
Right.
That is the goal.
Kind of what I was talking about in a world wage, meaning that whatever that ends up making sense of. Like, if someone, I was saying that I just broke it down this way. If you have a ditch digger, I was trying to think, like, the low paying job in the Philippines, they're actually getting paid the same wage as someone that's working, at a fast food place. There is no difference wage. It's all one wage. It's a contract wage. It's a provincial rate. So, but there's a ditch digger, in the Philippines. There's a ditch digger in America, right? They have people that dig ditches. What is the wage difference between them? The ditch digger in America was probably getting paid fairly well. It might be like $20 an hour, right? They've got systems in place, and are all insurance and everything else. What they take home, it might be different. They might be only be taking home $5 an hour. Who knows? But yeah, to come up with a way to just have a much better way of paying people that is, for what it's worth. And I guess that is we have to figure out that system. But the idea, the way I saw it, is that having the ability to make sure that these people that are getting paid their wages, are now elevated in a way that also they want to help others, around them, and get them to do their own projects and get involved in projects, all for building up things. So
yes, so the goal would be, the way I see it is, I compare it to a crowd diet. If you want an easy way to eat healthy, right? You start by making half of every meal you eat vegetables, right? Like raw vegetables or something.
that and is then half vegetable, half meat.
Okay. So and then you would basically, over time, you would crowd out the bad stuff, right? Just by eating more good stuff. So the focus is on what you're doing that's good for your body, not giving anything up and worrying about those things. Or you just focused on the parts that are good. Now, the same thing applies, right? Because that's something you can do something about. Now, you apply the same principle. So we have 137 different locations around the world, which will be 187 in no time, and probably 1,000 in 2 years. And say you have 1,000 different locations that are all just that base organization, and they're all funding projects, right? So now you have these organizations set up, and they're providing funds for projects. And then, in addition to providing funds for projects, they're also providing support to make sure that people, have what they need to be successful. Because a lot of people have never run a business before; they've never run a project before. They're not used to that. right? So you make sure that you have somebody assigned to every project that's working with them to do that. Now, in like manner, we also have actual creative care platform, which is something I designed years ago. And the whole idea is wellness support, right? So it's healthcare, right, that actually cares about your health. So instead of just, pharmaceutical promotions, which is what insurance really is, and if anybody wants to go into, medicine or be a doctor, at this point they should really go into insurance, because insurance is dictating what doctors can write, right? So what you do is you provide alternative, but things that aren't covered are things like chiropractic and, acupuncture and, a lot of nutritional training is like very limited. So these are all things that people could use some real help with, right? They, actually providing ways for them to get, healthy organic food, and, providing alternative healing techniques, and, making it so if someone, one is you design everything so people don't get cancer, and then if they do get cancer, you provide them with alternative treatments, right? And this becomes a new type of healthcare. So we have a healthcare company that we're buying, and we're going to, we have people working on that right now who are perfectly placed to rebuild that system. And so what we're not going to take that and try to promote it outside of our organization, right? We'll just everybody in our organization, everybody who's a project owner, all the employees of the project owners, and then all of their extended family members, right? So now that all by itself, you're speaking of a very large base, right? Now what happens is those people just start to naturally live longer. They love their insurance, they love their jobs, and that perpetuates, right? And then other people are like, how are you doing that? Right? Other companies want to come on board. They want to know if they can use the same insurance, and then eventually we'll make it available to other companies, right? And we just create a new model. Excuse me. And then somebody else can take that model and expand on it and make it better. And then when they make it better, then now you have a competitive business model where two companies that are both providing healthcare that actually cares about your health, is actually promoting wellness and actually designed around longevity. At the same time, your pharmaceutical industry should take a decisive hit, because they'll be diminishing that 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 aspect of medicine, right? Of that Western style of medicine. And while those jobs are, um, less and less people are working in that industry, we're building up on the other side, and we're creating more and more jobs that are more in line with natural law, right? And we do that with every single industry. We do it with everything. And what we'll do, and we make, and everyone who comes on board comes into the same agreement that everything we do will operate, with the best interest of the people, the planet, and the individual human experience. And we will not, we measure our success based on metrics that are separate from money, or not just money, but um, they're in line with the actual mission that those people, whoever it is trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's a very good metric. Is like, did you achieve your goal? A lot of people say, well, my goal is to to help doing this or that, but then the result and how it's measured as money doesn't really affect the goal correctly. There's
Right.
nothing
I mean,
with the goal.
and so you make projects that are self-sustaining, and you take away the massive financial gap, and you have to change the mentality, from people who own businesses currently. A lot oftentimes are just looking to amass wealth, right, to create this false sense of security. And we have to change that metrics, that there has to be other ways to measure success. And if we don't change the way we measure success, then we'll always feel like we have to hoard things away.
Right. Yeah. One
So
of the ways is to make sure that people have enough of everything. That they're not worried about the basics. So.
well, and there's nothing wrong with people having different amounts of things, based on their idea and what they were able to do. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But there is something wrong with, if I'm in a company, and one person's making $5 an hour, and I'm making $5 million a year, right? Like, that's unnecessary. I could increase the wages of every single employee. I could double the wages probably, and just and make $1 million a year, and I'd still be fine, right?
Unless you
I
don't care for the people there, right? They
don't.
care, right? Then it makes no difference. So that's the overall issue. Like if you express in this existing system that you don't care for your other people around you, then you excel. Right? That's what the system promotes. So the more you don't care, the more you excel, the more power you get.
Right, because you can constantly, you're willing to do what it takes, right? That's one of the terms, right? Do what it takes to be successful. Are you willing to do what it takes, right? And as long as you're willing to do what it takes, which usually, they wouldn't say that unless it was something awful, right? Like no one ever says that about like, are you willing to do what it takes? And then they tell you it's like, you can work 4 hours a day for 5 days a week. Like yeah, sure. Like of course I'd do that. That's not a big deal. It's doing what it takes usually requires, some bending of the rules or breaking of laws, right? And willing to be cutthroat and and hurt somebody you might care about to get ahead. So that's why people,
they always use that phrase about you do that to your own mother.
Yeah,
that's what proves that you're able to do what it takes.
Yeah, and that's why there's a it's like there used to be certain gangs, right, where you'd have to get jumped into the gang, right, or you have to blood in blood out. Well, that all comes from the cabal. Like right. you want to get ahead, you got to make a sacrifice, right? And you have many cases where people have been in interviews and they've voiced what their sacrifice was. Like they had to sacrifice their mother, they had to sacrifice their child. It's definitely a part of the culture, right? You have to be willing to sacrifice something that is essential to you, to get ahead, and that's how they set it up. I know some of my sources said that Peyton Manning had to sacrifice a year of his career so that he could come back and win another Super Bowl. Like I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that's what I was told. I've heard of different people who definitely sacrificed their firstborn child. So there's a lot of things like that out there that are real that they want us to participate in, and we have to change that model and redirect the energy to one that is conducive with who we are as people and who we want to be as people, and that's the only way to move forward. That's why everything has to change. We have to hit all of the ways they're poisoning us. And what I want to do, and I think it's essential, I'm very confident we have the absolute right to do this, is that we have the right to stop paying organizations that are not part of our government. Our taxes should not pay any organization that is not part of our government. We should not be paying the IRS. We should not be paying the FDA. We should not be paying probably the EPA. On top of the fact that they are completely incompetent organizations, right? They don't actually do their job. So, they're not actually protecting the environment, right? Because they're allowing false information to go out to support the United Nations agenda. The FDA is owned by the United Nations, right? Why would we, as the U.S. government, the citizens of the United States, be paying taxes that are paying for the FDA? And I don't want my food and drug to be, have the same administrator. I don't want them.
Yeah, it's a little odd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, why are you guys working together? It's like, they don't seem to go together. Yeah, so I think that's well within our rights as the governed, right? Because the government draws its power from us, and we get to decide what those things are. Now, the only problem is the problem is that nobody knows that. Nobody realizes that's what's happening. So because no one knows it, it's nearly impossible to accept this fact, because you'd have to put this message out on such a massive scale, right? But that's one of the first things. That's one of the reasons why I advocate for the money being regulated by the people, right? Ideally, I would love for whatever the role was that the Federal Reserve played to be given to the people, right? And then you have a paymaster, and the paymaster decides who gets paid, and you list off every organization that is part of the republic. And then all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, your budget is bloated because all these other organizations they're not part of the republic. They're not even constitutionally liable. I mean, they they're not. So why are we paying them? I mean, and that is such a simple thing when you think about it that way, right? It seems so simple. It's like you're not part of the government. We don't pay you, and any law that is not in harmony with the Constitution should get out immediately.
Right.
Immediately, it has to be changed. So, I mean, now you change that, then you have to change. Then you have to think about the key pieces that have to be changed all at the same time. You have to think about healthcare has to be changed, right? Because you have to change what's happening to the people. The EPA has to cease and desist immediately, or whoever it is that's authorizing our drinking water to be poisoned with fluoride. That has to stop immediately. Today, that has to stop immediately.
Right.
These are things these are urgent. I mean, absolutely urgent. Like your organization cannot receive another dime until that happens. And I mean, that's what I would like to do.
Well,
That makes the most sense.
I would say things that are very obvious, like fluoride in water, fluoride in toothpaste. This would be like, okay, well, you want money from the trust as a country. You change this law, make this illegal right now. Yeah, Colgate is going to go out of business very quickly unless they're able to adapt very quickly. But that's okay. They've been poisoning people for a long time.
Yeah.
The karma of that is appropriate. But if they change and they're able to fix it in some way, okay, great, fix it. But
yeah, I mean, like just stop doing it. I mean, see, that's the thing is these things, they're going to cry wolf. You're going to put us out of business. Thousands of Americans are going to lose jobs. No, they're not. Just stop putting fluoride in your ingredients. It's not hard.
Right.
But they want to portray. I mean, they're gonna do that though, right? They're gonna make big drama about it. And that's the problem. Is we need to cut down on all that drama and just have an absolute, like it does not matter. You're poisoning people every single day. We don't need to take it to a lawsuit. We don't need to have another day. We have scientific proof on this. There is evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt. In fact, on your own toothpaste, it says, warning, keep out of the hands of any child below the age of 6 years old. I know because my 6-year-old brought me toothpaste the other day and we looked at it together and we read it together and it said, and if you swallow more than you would when you normally brush your teeth, then call the poison control immediately. Now, how toxic is this? That if I mean, think how you don't even swallow when you brush your teeth.
You know what?
If I swallow anymore,
it would be interesting to contact the poison control people and say, how many people call in or swallowing toothpaste, and then find out, well, how many of them died.
It's interesting.
That'd be interesting to find out.
I know my daughter asked me the question, and I thought it was very intelligent on her part. She said, "Is the dentist evil?" I said, "No, honey, I don't think so. I mean, I guess she could be, but but I mean, I thought about it. I'm like, that's a very smart question, because
I found it interesting. Is the dentist that I was talking to here, my dentist, I went to, was, I just asked, I was just saying, they said, what are you allergic to? I said, fluoride, right? And I did. I said fluoride, and then then I was just asking like some normal questions about things, and she said, and she just made the comment that said, "Oh yeah, the dentists are kind of like turning away from fluoride."
Yeah, good job, guys. You're right on top of it after 70 years of utilizing fluoride and signing off. 4 out of 5 dentists say that this is what happened. Like, no, they don't. The first studies that came out about fluoride, it didn't even show any improvement in what it did for the hardening the plaque of the teeth, and it showed so many side effects. They immediately were like, no, you can't use this. So they just did what they always do. They fabricate the data, and then they change the outcome. That's why every pharmaceutical drug, right, has to go through such a rigorous inspection, right? It's not because they care about the results. It's because they want to make sure that the drug companies know the best way to manipulate the data, right?
Right.
I know. I mean, I used to be in pharmaceuticals, and I remember, like, I remember remember finding out that Novo Nordisk, they made 2 types of fast-acting insulin, Novolog and Humalog. And originally, they also invented Humalog. And and then they sold Humalog to their competitor so that they would have someone to compete against in the market, right? But it just promoted more use of insulin, and they profited from both. And they were the same, didn't matter.
Yeah. Well, the profit is in misery. Causing people pain.
And that's definitely something,
Yeah, Tui wants to chime in. Okay, Tui, what's going on?
Hey, Dan. Hey, Tank.
Hey, man.
Hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah, well, this is, here,
really,
bagging on the fluoride people and the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we are lucky in PC that we don't do that to the water. I think here they use chlorine, so chlorine. Yeah, so from one poison to another.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so a really good show today. As you guys.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so you guys were, discussing about comparing what is happening to the planet right now to. Say that again, then.
I said, what toothpaste do you use? What toothpaste do you use?
Can you hear me then?
I hear you. You don't think you can hear me. I think your connection is very slow.
Oh, we use Colgate.
Yes. You gotta stop that.
Yeah, I use Colgate.
Go to the Indian stores, right? You got a lot of those Indian selling things from India, right? And get their Meswek,
Yes.
MESWEKEX. I forgot how to spell it. Meswek. So get that toothpaste and make sure it doesn't have any aspartame.
Yes. Wait, I'll try and go to another.
Yeah, you got to stop using that stuff. It's poison.
Well, at least they're not making them drink it. That's good.
Yeah.
The water.
So anything else? I think Tui's having problems hearing because of the delay in the calls.
Yeah. So I really, I think it's important that we start laying the groundwork and talking about how do we change the world, right? How do we change what it's become? And that's why we have to look at these things and we have to stop pretending like they're not what they are, right?
Right.
We just can't make allowances anymore for things that are they're just bad, right? And the reason
I agree. Like one of the ways I thought of doing that is reward the people that are going to end up, say, losing their jobs, right? Reward those people for basically blowing the whistle on something that is going to end up costing them their job, right? Because whether they're a toothpaste manufacturer, whatever, but a system that rewards the people for pointing out things that are going to end up being detrimental to them, right? Because that's one of the reasons why people don't say anything is because that they get harmed. But if you actually made it profitable for them to turn into things that are going to be harmful to all of society, then everyone will do it. I was on a funding call for Newt Gingrich when he was running for president, and so Newt was on, and I said that could we just have a department that its role was to dismantle government, and what it would operate in a way that the people that were inside the government that would identify something that was completely unnecessary and there was a budget for it and everything, if they were to identify those things, but that budget went to the person that identified it, but they'd have to leave their job All right, they'd have to go out and start a business in the real world. They would get all this money, then go out into the world and spend that money. But then from that point on, the money isn't spent on these departments anymore. So basically, it was rewarded for them to basically identify the problem, and it really got them to now go and be part of a solution. And that was really what the idea was.
Yeah. So, they have these, these again, these are all these fraudulent corporate systems, right? That they have in place. So they have a system in place where a super safe environment, you can never get in trouble for, telling on your, telling about sexual misconduct or, about telling about unethical business practices. But that's a lie, because it just forces you to go through a pathway that leads back to human resources, and human resources always works for the management, right? They're never working for the employees. They're not trying to protect you. They're trying to protect their jobs, trying to protect the business. So that's the problem. There has to be a separate organization that has the power to come in and basically say, we're shutting you down because you're an ethical violation because of this, and we're here to investigate this right now, right? And it has to happen in a way that doesn't tip them off so they can hide all the evidence, right? So the problem is that there's such, right, there's a plan. So you submit through protocol, and as that's going through the channels, they're covering up the evidence. So it has to be something that's immediate and urgent, and we have to change the response time to all of these things so that we can actually impact a change when we see something that is a violation ethically and morally with the business and what we're trying to accomplish as humanity, right? And if our product is saying that it can do this, it should do that, right? And it can't be just based on fabricated information.
Right.
And the entire pharmaceutical industry is filled with that, and we know that, right? I mean, everybody is aware that something's not right with the vaccines, right? We can't quite pinpoint it because they do different things, but we know it's out there, right? We know that all of these general pharmaceutical. This happened to my father-in-law the other day. One of his doctors gave him a drug for to help his bladder and urinate more. His other doctor gave him a drug to prevent him from urinating so much, and he was taking both of them at the same time, right? So it's like that's not a intelligent practice, right? When
Well, that just reminded me, my father was going to the VA. So when he had gone through cancer treatment through the VA and that, he was, on so many medicines and so many things. It was like 70 different medications, right? And I started reading up on them and finding out, well, what are these things doing, right? Because he was definitely not in good shape, and he didn't know he was coming going. He was completely dysfunctional. And so I literally just went through it and I said, okay, I said, oh, he can use this one, this one, this one. I brought down to 6. And then I went to the doctors and I said to them, look, this is the whole spectrum of this. This one's doing this, this one's doing this. Does this make any sense? This is stupid. You can't be taking 72 pieces of medicine in a day, right? So I brought down these 6. He made it 8, right? The doctor, after looking at what I showed him, and said, does this make any sense? Because all they would do is the doctor would say this and they'd pile it on because they're so overworked. They don't go through and analyze the stuff, right? They have like 2.5 minutes per patient that they have, so they can't go and read the charts and read all of the stuff. They're relying on someone else to do it, and then in the system that it wasn't happening. At least it did. The doctor at least took the time and did it, and then brought it down to 8. Which was a manageable amount. And then my father was much better. But these things are where okay. You talked about this agency, right? Would this be an outside agency? This would be part of the government. Would the government be paying this agency? Because we had talked about that earlier. Or is this something that is a humanitarian company that's a watchdog group that's outside of government that's gets their money from where? And how does that happen?
Well, it would have to be an outside agency. It would have to be an outside agency because you can't, because people are invested in their profits in their employees.
Right.
So it has to be something from the outside, and it has to be something that everybody knows.
And where's the money come from for them?
Well, that's on. We're gonna. It's gonna be our project.
Oh, okay.
Right?
It's
a project would, a project would be to make this.
Got it.
So,
got it.
so that's. I mean, that's just. And by the way, that's just an idea, and someone else could definitely have a better
I'm
idea.
brainstorming while you're throwing this.
Yeah.
I knew it was just an idea, and that's why I'm kind of digging in to kind of like say, well, where do we go with that? Because maybe this happens tomorrow.
Right. Well, I think that's very reasonable, and that's why I'm
Hi,
trying to get
Dan.
people.
Hey, Tui, you're back.
Yeah. So I mean,
Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly now?
We hear you. I think you don't hear us. I think there's a delay in the call. You just talk. We'll let you talk. Go.
Oh, well, I just want to, just talk about what you guys are talking about right now, about the state of what we, at this moment right now, at this point. And I want to thank you guys for, talking about it as we wait for everything that is happening. It's really good to actually sit down and just talk about the future and talk about some of the changes that is in front of us. And I know there's a lot of things we can discuss or we can say about the future, but how it's going to truly eventuate or how it's going to happen will be a very big lesson for everyone that's involved. And you guys are talking. I mean, as Tank was saying, that they have all these plans and all the projects that has to happen. Which just brought me back, and I just wanna give an input and to add on that on the point that I was talking about yesterday about the I call it the spiritual part of the project, which is the awareness and the readiness of the spiritual energies of the people, which is I truly think that it's the most important part of the whole change, because that is what is changing. The outside, the assets, the money, it's not changing. The inside is what is going to be changing for everyone on the planet. And so the awareness that has to prepare everyone to this change is one of the most important part of this big change. And so, like I was saying yesterday, you can pump in more money, you can help people that need help, but it will take a long time for them to actually remember the real power that they have. And we can, use projects to nurture this learning for every single people that we touch, or every single life that we involve, or we get them, or we get involved in the different projects. So, for example, I will always talk about Fiji because it's where I'm from, and people will be able to relate and project it to the different part of the world that they may be. And the change here, because we have a structure of how we have the natives and we have the government on top of the native structure that's been existing for over thousands of years. And just a few years ago, a few decades ago, the government set up the corporate structure to run and to have an administration structure to be able to run the government and to be able to create the economy. And this is what we will do in Fiji. Like I always tell the chiefs that we will make sure that the spiritual energy is going to be free, because that's ultimately how sovereignty has to do to gain the freedom and the awareness that the most powerful thing in this universe is inside you. And we'll always work towards that and always leave that as the main part of the change. Because without that, without that part, without the spiritual, change, when it comes to awareness and then through the experience, without that, the DNA, or what you call the soul, will always be in enslavement, will always be being pledged to the trust. And that's what the trust really is. It has to collapse. In order for it to be collapsed, the reason why it was created in the trust in the first place has to be fulfilled. And that's the role of what the Confederacy is to fulfill the sovereignty that was pledged to the trust thousands and thousands of years ago. And we will do that, and we will accelerate it. We will set an example, so that people will be able to see how it's actually done. And we won't be doing anything that is new to us. It's not, we live in Fiji. That's how, all the chiefs live in peace with one another, observing the law of sovereignty, recognizing each other as all sovereigns. And they have a way of doing things, the way of actually exchanging goods for free, for out of love. And that's what we're going to do here in Fiji, and we will try and progress slowly within 1, 2, maybe if it takes long, it will take maybe 5 years or 10 years. It depends on how well the awareness is going to actually be instilled to every single person in the country. Because as soon as they will know the true value of what they represent, or the essence that is inside them, there will be so much change in a very accelerated manner to everyone, no matter what religion they may be, no matter what the differences in their skin color, or in race, or whatever differences they be. They will be able to see that all these are just gifts of the physical level, and the spiritual awareness within is just one. And that will also work with how we have relationship with the planet, with the living plants and animals. And so that we can plan, we can talk about the future, but if we keep our mindset on the way the world was in before 2017, and before this agreement actually came into place, we will always make decisions, or we will always create a future from that point of view. And the clear intent of the role of how sovereignty has to be returned will take a long time for people to fully understand what it is or what it means. And so right now, I just want to point out that that's, to me, it's um, the most powerful thing that we have to try and talk about. Because the slave system is, even though agreement has changed, but it's still going on right now. People are still suffering. People are still separated. People are still going on with the way of life that was there before, even before 2017. And people still need help. And, if you look at it in a very, very, very physical level, no one else is, enslaving them. No one else is keeping them in this illusion, but they themselves, because of the unawareness, or not knowing the power that they have, that they are the one that's constructing all these illusions that been brainwashed into them, or been taught to them since they were young. And to be able to get that, or to learn, to be able to be free from that, and to be pure, to make judgment from a pure state of the fifth element within them, and then realize that everything that they are thinking about, everything that they value, everything that they've been taught, are all just their gifts. And that's the awareness that is needed to be able to create this new change. As soon as they realize that, they will fully know their roles, and they will fully know how to create projects to actually do the same thing to other people that are still still lost. And that's basically what's what is so like in the world right now. People are still binded to that agreement. Are still, even though they know that they they are lost. They don't know how to actually look out. They are trying to look outside of them to try and get free. They're trying to look for money. They're trying to get what can we do? But in real reality, it's in them. The awareness within them is the one that is actually enslaving them. And so it's it's one of the most important part of this project. And I thank he said about what he said about how the old system and how it how the awareness of the people is like cancer. But in reality, they are not actually cancers. They are just people that are lost. They think that all this reality that they've been keeping and being perpetuating and being it's a big machine of slavery. They think that it's so real. So that's why they still they still in the know. But I know if they come to the full awareness, like just like what we are doing right now, how you Dan and Tank, if they know the same thing that you know right now, and they have the same spiritual awareness and the same agreement, they will same thing that we are knowing right now about the truth about all these things. They will do the exact same thing that we're trying to do now. And however they're gonna individually they're gonna learn, and whatever time it will take them to learn that, and that's it comes to their own personal soul agreements. And so that's why we in Fiji we will do, because we will try and shine that light from here, and we want everyone in the world to know what the truth is. And if we do this and if we start our project as a nation, because the project here is going to be an entire nation changing, and people will be able to learn from it all around the world. We're gonna do it as normal people, as how we're gonna go to the prime minister. We're gonna tell them what is actually happening, and they, as soon as they know it, they will they themselves create all this thing that they can turn away from. And and the good thing about that is that by the time we do that with them, we will have the solution ready, and we'll tell them that the trust is here. We just have to get your knowledge up to par, and then we'll be able to take the next step, so that as a nation we'll change and we'll try and create this new future for this nation, and people all over the world will come here, and everything will be free. We will make everything here free. We will plant all the fruits and vegetables and we will do that, so that when people arrive in Fiji, we won't we won't advertise for hotels and all that anymore. We'll bring everyone out of the hotel, and their own villages and all this, because that's the way they will interact with people that will be visiting the place. And in that way we'll be able to touch the lives of the people, and be able to teach them about the true freedom and the true power that is within them physically, from one person to another, physical to physical. And this is like we see that as a way to actually heal everyone that comes to the country. And not only to Fiji, we will do that to the Solomon Islands, to Vanuatu, to Hawaii, to New Zealand, to Australia. I'm just trying to I gave my email just now to a guy that is with the chiefs in Australia. His name is Louis. And I said, we can get everyone in the Pacific is waking up, because this is a prison. It's not physical. The prison that has been laid for us is spiritual. Is within everyone, and if we can break through that from that level, I'm doing it here in Fiji, and I was talking about yesterday. I was talking about realigning people, doing adjustments in a way that I tell them I didn't heal you. Your body heals yourself, and that's what the fifth element within everyone is. It can heal, and it can recorrect itself and readjust itself. So there's a guy, Nicholas. He's done over. He just in the chat room he was talking about doing about 250,000 adjustments in his whole career. And for me, just more than 1,000. and he knows, he understands what I'm talking about when I'm talking about how the body is fully aware and it can self-regenerate. And we were talking about Colgate and fluoride, In Fiji, we have we can use Colgate, but we have coconut oil, virgin coconut oil. We use that to actually counter the effects of or the toxic effects of fluoride. Because if you use coconut virgin oil, you'll be able to the teeth will be able to regenerate. If you're in pain and if you have if your teeth is actually you can feel temperature or you're getting a cavity or that, just use a coconut virgin oil. You'll be able to regenerate it really fast within a few days. And if you continue doing it, the teeth will regenerate itself. And that shows how intelligence the whole body is. The bone is intelligent. All the cells in the body are intelligent, and that's why that's the amazing thing about the fifth element. And that's like I said, it's the most powerful energy that that creates the whole universe. And so everyone that's living right now, they are part of it. That's why they are alive. If you can hear me, if you're breathing, if you're thinking, you are the most advanced technology that is on the planet. And there's a lot of things that you will learn, the multidimensional structure of your DNA, that you're not just living now in this moment now. There are different moments that you always live on, and you are connected to those moments. That's how your thoughts come up. That's how you think. And there's a lot of things that I might not talk about now, but in the future, scientists will be able to figure out. And we won't even need technologies like the physical technologies.
Oh, it got slow.
Like what Tesla. You guys were talking about Tesla. Gains activate the whole entire body, and you won't be complaining about disease anymore. The disease won't no longer be there because the whole planet will change. Right now, the state of the planet right now is just the state of the awareness of every individual on the planet. And so to be able to grow into that part where you don't need to eat, you don't need all this, and eventually you'll be fully connected to the fifth element within you. And this is what Manna simply means. It's just a journey right now. It's a journey towards that change. I know as well as Tank that Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Oh wow, that was a long, long. I said something a while ago.
Yeah, I know as well as Tank it's not just assets and money that is pledged to the trust. The return of sovereignty is the most powerful thing about reconnecting to this energy that is within us. That is what the money is going to help you do, and it's not going to end there. It's gonna create. You will reconnect to other timelines that are waiting for you to actually come up to their state of awareness. And so if the whole planet, if people on the planet change today or tomorrow, if we can change the way, you don't even need the money that's in the trust or the assets, because you are the one that creates the asset. You are the. Oh, sorry. It's I think it's taking too long for what I'm saying to actually come in, and so I'll keep talking until
Okay,
until
here too.
Until I can I said enough, and I'll say goodbye. Yeah, so that's that's the what, and I'm glad that you guys brought up Tesla and the way he thinks about how we need technology. I mean, we're already using technology right now. We're using cell phones and all this, so that means we are already part of the cyber. We're already using that because we can use our body to do this, and that's why I'm using this to call you and talk on the phone. People are so dependent on it; they can't leave their phone anywhere. So they're already, whether they like it or not, they're already a cyborg right now or a computer. Because that's how they're living their life right now. And I can. Yes.
Dewey. I think.
Yes, Dan.
very long delay. He is planning a jailbreak.
the rooster.
No, because he said that we're all in a prison, right? And he's talking about how to get out. So he's actually planning a jailbreak.
Yeah, I'm in.
So sorry, the weather in Fiji right now is not so good. So I think oh yeah.
Yeah,
we got like a half minute delay.
Yeah, I have some questions I'm dying to ask you, Tui, but I know you're not going to hear them right away.
Yeah.
So maybe not today.
Just ask a question. Just go ahead and shoot, and then he'll catch
Sorry,
up.
it's so slow. I think I've said things after a few seconds, then you guys. Oh.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
It might even be like a few minute delay in the call at this point.
Well, but I think what Tui had to say was great. I mean, so I'm glad you told him to just talk because it's important. I mean, because you know he's looking at the ultimate direction that we're going, right? And all that's true, and I see it that we are the transition team. We have to find ways to transition the mentality, and Tui often says this. He says, once people know and they understand, right, it'll just ignite this reality for them, right? The problem is that there's a critical mass that has to shift, right, and there has to be a dissemination of information that in reality we are just starting, right? We're just really into this. And I mean, if I looked at the amount of things I have written, the amount of places I've spoken just in the past year and a half, it's my efforts have been relentless, but and then Thomas's efforts have been, relentless, right? Like nonstop, but it doesn't, I mean, not to mention Kim and her own things that she's written and put out there. So, but that is not enough of a voice when you're dealing with, hundreds of thousands of other voices that are publicly speaking and, don't know the whole story, and they're spreading, planned lies and planning all types of bombs. So you have to undo all that. And that's the challenge.
Yeah, and you've got to change the mindset from the scarcity mindset to abundance, or everyone will always fall back into greed, right? Because it's that survival instinct, and they haven't learned that survival can be done, without greed. But we have to alleviate that.
Hey, Dan, can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear us? And the answer is no. Well, fiber optic connection would be really good to Fiji. One of the things to put on the list.
I'd like to ask Tui, because I know of people who have technology that taps into, the chakra, right?
Yes, I can hear you, but it's so slow. It's a lot of so late.
About 2 minutes delay.
That's okay, Tui. Just let us know when you want to monologue a little bit, and we'll just, Dan and I know to just kind of
be quiet.
We'll stand back. Yeah, and that's okay.
Indeed.
Yeah, but Tui, when you get this question,
ask your question. Ask your question.
Yeah, Tui, I'd like to know if you, and I'm certain that you do understand it because you mentioned it before. If you understand how to tap into this, the magnetic field or the energetic field, of the spiritual energy of the planet to be able to technically tap into already existing, I don't know, metaphysical communication technology. I mean, that's here now. I mean, I know that the deep state, the cabal, they have a frequency that they use to communicate, which is a
Obviously, you're not on that frequency. Thank you. Did you mute yourself, or did Hello, Tank?
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the cabal is attacking me with random phone calls from Slovenia and various places that I've, at the optimum moment, I'll get a call from Lithuania or something like that, and I'm like, who is, But yeah, so that's the kind of technology I would love for us to, develop or teach. I think it's already, it already exists, right? It's just
You're
a
saying
matter of
something about the cabal already has a frequency, and that's kind of where you.
right. So the cabal already has a uh, a frequency. Thomas actually talks about it on one of his calls, and he but it's a, I forget how it's described, but it's a different type of frequency, right? That they're running their internet on, and this is what they did to us a few weeks ago when they planted an overlay on the system. So Kim had transferred the money into the system, and then they had a separate frequency that was laying over top of it. So it masked, what was there. So she had to take that down. So we know that exists. Is my point, right? We know that tech exists. We know that that is out there. That there's other ways to do that now. And I've talked to people who have alternative methods of utilizing, something similar to the internet, but it would be maybe through chakras or maybe through some other way to bio-identify the individual. They basically have their own IP, but in the spirit, right? Which a lot of people do that in meditation.
What is your email address?
I want to know I want to know if Tui understands how to do that. I mean, that's ancient technology. Hello?
I'm just waiting for Tui responding.
Oh, it could be a minute. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can you? Hey, Dan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a little faster now. Yeah, thank you. That was a very, a very good discussion. A very good question. The alignment that I did with how I did with uh, the the people that came to on Saturday. I did more than 100 people that were able to be aligned, and they're calling me up and telling me the effects that actually resetting the nervous system actually do to them, and they get their normal uh, the hormones running properly now, and that they're able to wake up at the proper time, go to sleep the proper time. They're able to reprogram the subconscious part of their body, because and that's how healing has to be done to the physical body for now, because we have to progress right from this state, restructuring the way we think, and accepting all these chemicals that has been put into our body, and has been, we don't complain about that, we accept it, and we know, like what tech is doing, we try and stop it. We try not to try and stop the whole thing. And I know people are having a lot of challenges in actually doing that. In Fiji and other small countries, it's really easy. and because we are so far away from the chemtrails and all these other changes the cabal has been doing. We can drink the rainwater, and we have pure springs that that Fiji are well known for. You'll hear about what Fiji water is in the US, and how there's a company here that has been mining water from the spring that it used to be free, and now he's selling it to the rest of the world and calling it Fiji water. And so there's a lot of all this knowledge about what all these things are happening. And I know the question that Tang has just asked, and how to actually get back and for people to be able to use that in a very yes.
So I just want to make a comment about QAnon as kind of pointing to some information.
Yeah.
It seems to be saying
Yes, go ahead.
that the
Indeed.
Fiji Water Company is involved in some not good practices. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I fully know that. I understand. I know what Q is talking about. Um, yes, I
Is
know.
there any
I know
story?
that. I know the
Stories like
company
that?
owner. I know the Fiji water thing. As soon as we get our sovereignty, those are all the things that we'll call it in chiropractic. We'll adjust, and we'll be able to repurpose. So right now, there's not just that. There's quite a lot of things that Fiji is involved with. I know Q knows about it. A lot of all the drug problem, the drug trafficking, because of the location of where Fiji is, and the some of the human trafficking. Um, uh,
Yes.
sorry,
So maybe you have to bring back some of the old ways for lessons teaching.
sorry, Dan, say that again.
I said maybe you have to bring back some of the old lessons, the old ways of teaching, to reintegrate them back in. Oh well, it's not good to have this conversation with a delay. It's it's not
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. So anyway, I'm glad that you're aware of it, and there's plans to take care of some things after the changeover. Oh, we can go on. We'll cover it when he has a better connection, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, um, yep. So that's basically what I'm looking at with all these. I want us to push things towards, the planning stages, not just the planning stages. I mean, a lot of these plannings should already be in place. I'm kind of putting it out in a, more publicly now, because I know these people I know there's people who have these amazing ideas, and that when we're talking about the things that are absolute that we have to do, that they already know exactly what needs to be done.
Right.
And I'm asking them to reach out to me so that we can get to work on doing this, because we are hours to days away from breaking through and changing the world. And I really want us all to hit the ground in full force and ready to go. And I know there's a lot of the skeleton that I understand, and I put in place, and I know the next steps on many of these things. And then, but there's definitely people who have dedicated their life to finding better ways, and I am fully willing to stand down as a novice and let them develop it and make it exactly what it should be. I want it to be the best version of everything. We don't have to recommend we don't have to have 50 different categories of things when it comes down to it. We should just utilize the best process, the best practice, the best, the best materials. It just like, let's just make that happen, and let's teach that, and let's magnify those qualities, right? And then let's improve on them and make
Right.
them better. You know, and that's it's kind of the point that where we're at. It's like we have to stop entertaining mediocrity and making mediocrity a center of our world, right? That's why we have these mediocre life experiences. That's why everything is so much less than what it can be, because we've allowed that to happen. You know, and and I'll tell you one of the reasons why I thought about this. Kim had told me this a while ago. So, in one of the many contracts, somehow there were no karmic consequences for anything the cabal did until like 2014.
Yeah,
And then as
I remember that. It wasn't there like the Pope came out and removed all of their immunities and things like that.
it could be. I don't know. I heard it from Kim. That does sound familiar to me. Um, so, but whatever, whatever it is,
They had no karmic consequence because it was all agreed to.
right.
But at a certain point, it wasn't. The agreements were over, so their immunities had to be removed. Like, so they couldn't do bad things in government and have it be immune from prosecution.
Right. And that's really where we should be now. Is it's like, okay, there are consequences. These things, I have not agreed to any of this, and neither has anybody on this call. We do not accept your agreements. We are not going to be enslaved by you. Like, it cannot happen. So, and you know what? Everybody down to Treasury, Department of Treasury, you should all take that same attitude. Do not accept the offer of enslavement being given to you by whoever it is, whether it's Steve Mnuchin or Steve Mnuchin's boss, or Steve Mnuchin's wife. I don't care. You should not be anybody's slave. Nobody's slave. And certainly not in a position of leadership. So so I think we're right there. I think we're breaking through, and we can organize that stuff to talk about it, as we do step through very specific needs and in groups that we'll be working. And I don't know, Dan and I were talking about we're gonna get the Blog Talk Radio thing. We're gonna set that up. Hopefully tonight we'll have a little time, and we'll get that working. I like that venue because it allows people to talk. I mean, people can call in, so I like that.
Yeah, I will. I won't be able to do it today. And I mean, after the show today, I'm going to be out. I've got some errands to run, so we'll have to do it maybe in your morning.
Yep, my morning is free. We'll do it then. It works. So I think that covers everything for today, though.
I think so. We're at 2 hours, so we can cut it. If we keep doing this 2-hour shows, that's much better.
Yeah, this was my attitude about teaching. Give people one thing they will never forget versus a whole lot of things they'll never remember. And I think it's time for everything to get more efficient and more productive. So we can do the
Indeed.
same, certainly.
Indeed.
Indeed. Tui, any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say thank you, Dan. Thank you, Tank. Thank you, Kim and the Trust and the team. Thank you so much. The people of Create Chains and everyone that's involved with you guys and the team there in the US, and everyone that has the motives of creating the projects all over the world, wherever you may be. Thank you so much for what you've been doing, and thank you so much for this the point and to be here with us and be listening in. Thank you to all you guys in the chat room. Thank you so much, the people watching live now and in the future. And then thank you again. Thank you for the opportunity today, even though we have delays on our on the transmission and all the conversation. I hope tomorrow we'll have a brighter because today we have rain here in Fiji, so I think that's why we have a delay. So I think tomorrow will be more brighter, and we'll be able to discuss more as we wait for the change that is actually happening already. And so yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tuli. Thank you, everybody, and please subscribe, share, indeed, and then we will be back tomorrow.
Yes, and please like.
Like,
like repost. Yeah.
we're at 89 likes and 152 watching right now. So all of you, thank you for participating. We'll check this out tomorrow. Have a great day.
All right. Peace out from New York.